Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Beetle Battle event in which the Shadow Beetle is added to the game. So, two big things happening this week. One is the Compensation Vault event weekend is happening this weekend. This was mostly due to some issues that was happening on consoles with some disconnecting related things, as well as just crashing. I think it was happening slightly on PC Mobile as well, but it was mostly a console issue. But they're doing that this Friday for Compensation, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Also, we're going to be getting the Halloween event this week. It did not start this Monday. The main reason for that is they're going to be starting on Friday, so that goes all the way from Friday and then the 2-week period, which goes all the way over until the day after Halloween. So of course it makes sense just so they can get it through Halloween, but I believe this is the first time ever where the weekly or 2-week event is starting on a Friday rather than a Monday, but still the same thing as usual. You'll be able to go get a new legendary troop. It's actually not too bad either. We're getting this thing. It's a really high skull dodge while having spell reduction, so basically a mixed tank, but with skull dodge instead of just skull mitigation, which is pretty nice. And it ends up accumulating a bunch of mana while having a very stally kill option, which of course is inflicting terror to try to kill them. Overall, probably pretty inconsistent, but has a little bit of everything going for it. Has mana accumulation, has a way to upscale kill, has spell reduction, and has score reduction in the form of just outright dodging skulls. With the high skull dodge as well, 45%, really, really high. Can't wait till we get a mythic version that's at like 60 or 70 to see how that will end up panning out, especially if you had like immune to stun. Of course, the biggest issue with her is you get stunned once and you're kind of out of commission as far as its overall usability. We're also getting this little pet thing, which will give her, of course, the bonus and +5 to all stats. Overall, not horrible, probably very situational, but in the kind of restrictions where you might end up using it, like midnight, seems like it will actually have a decent amount of usability, so we'll be getting that this Friday. Anyways, let's go now into all the other things we have going on this week. Let's start from the event key drop table. It is for Zhul'Kari, and because it is Zhul'Kari, it is somewhat worth doing. Zhul'Kari is the only green magic kingdom in the game, meaning that you should be prioritizing every single one of your greed deeds to eventually maxing out your Zhul'Kari, as every single time you get it to one of the big milestones will gain additional magic. So if you're still looking to get it to 10 star, 20 star, 30 star, any of the big milestones that give you an additional stat for the extra magic bonus, you might want to consider opening event keys to close the gap. As far as all the things that are not in drop table, these include the 5 faction troops from the Eldrazi, let's see, there's definitely a few others. Where are they? Where are you hiding? Let's see. Where's the event one? Am I going crazy? There it is. The Dusk Owlbear, which is only from the current raid event that we have going on. And then the Tarot card, Ace of Cups, which is from the Vault Key drop table, which of course we had a Vault Key event just the other week, and we have again this weekend, so if you still need them, you'll be good to go. And those 7 are the only ones not in drop table. Things that are in drop table that are worth it, Web Spinner. If you don't own a Web Spinner, this is definitely the week to get a Web Spinner. Deals triple damage to nearly everything in the game, as long as they don't have immune to web and or poison. It will deal triple damage to them, particularly things that don't have immune to web, which there are a lot of them. He just automatically does triple damage too, because the web takes place before the triple damage skull. So as long as you don't have immune to web, you're just automatically, regardless of what stats effects they have on them, hitting for triple damage, which of course is very strong. It also has a ability that loops somewhat into itself while creating a bunch of green, so overall, not that bad. We have Rarity and Weaver if you want to try pulling for one of the mythics. Honestly, 2 of these 3 mythics are actually usable. Arc Proxy, while I personally don't use it too much as we're not really in a skull meta at the moment, it is among one of the harder hitting skull options, particularly for Uber Doom skulls if you still need the achievement or anything for that. However, Rarity and Weaver is generally the main thing from this place. Not only is it one of the better 4x Webbers in the game, it has a double poke true damage that can mass mana accumulate if you end up securing a kill, if you have other true damagers on your team to end up chipping them into range, and has one of the best trait setups of anything in the entire game. It has Stealthy, Impervious, and a 75% chance to summon the other strong troop we were just talking about earlier, Web Spinner. So really, really good. One of like the top 10 strongest overall triple trait combinations as well. So very, very solid. Was mostly used for Guild War back in the day, but still really good for these kind of restrictions where you're in like Zhul'Kari restriction or something similar, as you're just really good at not dying while having an insane summon. But that's pretty much it. If you're bothering to open otherwise, you're mostly just doing it for star levels in order to go and try to hit whatever your next milestone is for that permanent magic bonus. This permanent magic is, of course, very, very good. Anyways, beyond that, we got a raid event. Pretty standard raid event, nothing too special here. Raid guy is 2x magic and 2x score. There are 2 raid boss killer thingies that you can use. However, you should really only be using this guy because it's double magic, double score. The other one doesn't have his double magic, so it's not worth using. Even if you were to use one of each, you'd be better off just having this guy. As far as our restriction is, of course, Zhul'Kari, as is a raid. With that being said, you're probably going with... oh, I never actually changed on this one. I changed on the other team. I thought this was the resummon weapon. But of course, you're restricted on weapons as well. And the main weapon you probably want to use on most of them is the Watcher's Blade. If you don't have it, you can get it from Soulforge this week. It explodes a bunch of green gems, grants a random status effect to all Zhul'Kari allies, which will be your entire team, potentially minus hero, depending on if you go assassin or not, which you're generally not going to be going assassin, so pretty much your whole team except for hero. And then summons a Zhul'Kari troop. It's going to be your tankiest option, has a lot of mana accumulation. It's pretty much the thing you're going to put onto all your teams in order to put it together. As far as damage sources, we of course have Orbweaver, we have Web Spinner, we have that one thing that is insta-kill from the faction, I forget its name. But that's going to be like one of the lower rarity ones that you can end up getting. Just throw a bunch of Chaos Shards at Eldrazi, which of course also has an event this Tuesday. And it has insta-kill. And if you end up getting it fully traded and have the full boost ratio, actually you won't be able to get the full boost ratio because you won't be able to do it on the boss troop, but you'll be able to get up to 3, and with 3 of them you'll have 24, and with 24 of them you'll have a 34% chance, so basically a 1 in 3 chance that you'll insta-kill per cast. So if you really lack things and you need something to upscale, that's probably going to be your option. Worst comes to worst, if you have absolutely nothing, just this guy with double magic is probably going to be fine. He doesn't do anything too special. He gets to eliminate some armor, which is pretty trivial for how much he ends up doing, but of course he does have his 5 times damage of fully ascended, and of course has double magic. So that double magic might potentially be your best damage source if you completely lack every other damage source. So worth considering if you just don't have any other options, as there are quite a bit of ways to get purple mana as well as green mana from the kingdom itself. As far as other things we have going on this Tuesday, as we mentioned, we have the faction event for Eldrazi. Wednesday we're going to be in that tree pet thing from Zhul'Kari. Thursday we have ourselves the class event for Assassin. Assassin is a very weird one as far as its overall, or sorry, not Assassin. Why did I say Assassin? Oh no, did I set it up for Assassin for the other thing? That's weird. I think I set the team up right, but I set the name wrong. I keep saying Assassin. I mean Orbweaver hero class. That's funny. Am I thinking Assassin? But anyways, Orbweaver hero class ends up coming in. And overall, not too good. Does have that mana drain immunity thingy that's kind of okay. But for the most part, there's just other things that do it better, most notably Archmages as far as like its style of hero class. So for the most part, you don't really ever need to end up using Orbweaver. You can end up doing it if you want to throughout like the various event stuff this week, but for the most part, you're not really going to need to. And of course, as we already mentioned, this Friday, we have 2 big things coming in. The start of the Halloween event, that'll be going on for 2 weeks. And then of course, also the Vault event weekend is the compensation one, which will just be like any other Vault event weekend. So great time to be farming stuff. Just go quick kill explore, get a bunch of resources, and you'll be good to go. Aside from that, Soulforge this week, we have a few okay things. The most noteworthy one being, actually 2 noteworthy ones. One is we have the Celestial Dragon for Brown. So if you are still missing them, I believe this is what now our 3rd Celestial Dragon. So hopefully you've gotten the one you needed for your good old Stellarix. And if not, well, they'll rotate around sometime soon. We still have like next like 2 months or so. You should be able to get it to rotate around and go eventually get your Stellarix, but for whatever one you're missing. But we have the brown one now, so if you need the brown, get the brown. Beyond that, Tina 9000's decent. It's mostly only used in mech restriction these days, and sometimes Adana restriction. Though for Adana, you have access to Tesla, and Tesla is generally better than it if you're just looking purely for damage. However, this thing is not just a damage source. It is really good at tanking. It doesn't have the high spell reduction in the game, only at 50%. However, it has an armor gain to go with that 50% at double its magic plus, what, 8? That's actually a lot. That's a lot of armor. And it still does enough damage that if you're fighting something near your stats, it'll generally kill your enemy with a double tap. It hits 3 random enemies, but if 2 of those hit the same enemy, you're almost guaranteed going to be killing it in a situation where you have similar stats to your enemy, which in game modes like that, like PvP and such, can be pretty useful. But yeah, it's mostly used for its 50% spell reduction into its pretty decent ability. Only bad side, of course, is no follow-up. It has no extra turn potential, but it gets so much value for its ability with how tanky it is that that's normally not too big a deal. Under mech restrictions, you tend to run double Tina 9000 in the current state of the game because we don't really have a proper other option to really put the team together. But into the future, there might be, so just having 1 Tina is still kind of nice for mech restriction. But under Adana, you generally just go down to Tesla, so it's okay. Very situational, but really spell tanky, if nothing else. As far as weapons are concerned, nothing really a must-have as far as Zhul'Kari is concerned. However, I do believe on like 3, 4 of the teams, I do use Watcher's Blade. It's just a really safe option for any kind of Zhul'Kari restriction this week. You end up exploding a bunch of green gems and grants a random status effect to all Zhul'Kari allies, which if you were forced to have to use a Zhul'Kari team is a bare minimum 3 of your troops, or 4 if you go Orbweaver, and then it summons a Zhul'Kari troop. So, of course, backup resummon if your team keeps dying. So you'll always have a tank. Just put this in like 2nd or 3rd slot, and you're good to go. I think on one of the teams I do show it on 1st, but I think that was the high rarity team where you're generally not going to be dying anyways. But 2nd place is probably the overall best place to put it if you your hero is at any risk of dying, or if you're not running like Elementalist hero class or something similarly tanky. But for the most part, just knick-knack stuff if you want to go get Kingdom Stars or just want a utility weapon of some kind, like any of the other ones that create a bunch of mana or anything else. Anyways, beyond that, let's go now into all of the teams, all of which will be in the description below. So we were just mentioning this blade, Watcher's Blade, really good for surviving. You normally want it in second place as we're using it here. Web Spinner, just really good overall damage. You can keep looping it for damage on everything. You can Skull Poke to kill out everything else. Keep in mind, in raids, you generally will only have to kill 3 troops because your raid boss will, or your raid slayer will kill the final slot, so you don't have to deal with that. So you need something really nice to clean up the other 3, and Web Spinner does really well in that category, as it does basically everything you need. It has enough skull damage to basically one-shot them. You could chip them into range if they're not one-shottable, and it loops back into itself, so you'll at least get some extra turns, so you could chip them right into range, skull, 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 and then win. This is for backup so you don't die. This kills the raid boss, and this is for some extra green mana at the start of the battle. As far as the low rarity team, we do have to drop Web Spinner. Unfortunately, we have to go for the other insta-kill. As I mentioned earlier, if you, worst comes to worst, or if you want to buy more of the packs, you can actually just double up on Owlbeer, and just go double Dusk Owlbeer, and this should be enough for you to end up winning out. Just double up on your Dusk Owlbeer, keep spamming them out, and you'll be good. They have double magic in that game mode this week. And if you have them fully maxed out, this could be a lot. You'll be able to 1-2 shot the raid boss, and then just multi-poke the other ones. You just keep chipping them down. You have 2 things that can mass mana accumulate, this with a bunch of explodes, and this with a bunch of explodes, while this having a summon on death if it dies, when it dies, as long as it's not stunned, and this also having a summon per cast, so you're pretty much never going to die. You're going to have infinite shields in first slot, and these 2 will just be your main damage source, potentially double Dusk Owlbeer if you want to go down that route, instead of going down the little bit of insta-kill. Next, we have ourselves the faction teams for Eldrazi. This is a green-purple restriction, though of course you're still allowed to use any hero weapon. For this, we have a pretty standard Rowan team, just without Mirage Queen, since we can't put it in on a green-purple restriction. So you could either double up on Leprechaun or double up on your Rowan. For the next team we have here is a pretty standard insta-kill team, running the 2 Orb ones, Zolgoth and Catharix. But of course, you can run any 2 damage sources you want in this kind of composition. We're just running Wand, Leprechaun, and our best 2 damage sources. You could even run with 1 damage source and go either Thrall or Bogstrider as your mana accumulator. If you need something nice and cheap, they're both common rarity, and just go whatever your best damage source is in third slot, nice and safe, and just use that as your pure damage. But in this case, we're just using these 2, but you can use whatever you have access to. Next, we have the Pure faction, which is just Eldrazi, of course. With this, you basically deliberately let your first slot die, and this then gets replaced with a Tome Spider. As you can see right here, he has a 100% chance when he dies to summon a Tome Spider, and you're generally not going to have to deal with stun, particularly on first battle. There's guaranteed to be no stun, so you can just have it die then. And then you end up getting this guy. He inflicts Web, Hunter's Mark, and Death Mark, so he has a way to Death Mark, which will be a way to just whittle them down if you want to insta-kill them. On top of that, you also have insta-kill also, of course, off of Matheron. So basically, you're just spamming insta-kill off of Tome Spider, try to kill the first slot, insta-kill off of Matron to try to kill everything else, and you just keep repeating that over and over again. Keep in mind, you cannot start your team with the Tome Spider, so you do have to go double Deep Huntsman, so it's Pure faction, but your team by the end of it all will be Tome Spider, Deep Huntsman, double Matron, assuming nothing ends up dying. And that's pretty much the game plan. You have 3 things that can insta-kill. This is your mass mana accumulator, and just keep going from there until you win. This one is not the assassin class. This is... How did I do this wrong? I'm so tired this morning. Is there any problem with recording these? It is like 4 a.m. right now. It is 4 a.m. right now. It is so early in the morning. That's the only thing I hate about Gems of War Reset relative to my time zone. It is such the dead of night. And the problem this time is I didn't actually stay up. I just woke up early. And gosh, I feel so much more tired waking up early compared to just staying up to this time. But anyways, what am I doing here? I'm replacing this to Orbweaver, but the team is still correct. I just called it Assassin instead of Orbweaver. However, of course, as far as Orbweaver is concerned, it should be an elf restriction from Zhul'Kari. So I did the thing right. I just didn't name it right. But it is an elf from Zhul'Kari. But yeah, the hero class is not anything too special. It does have like that mana drain immediately. This used to be 50%, but it was nerfed down to 35% and just isn't used much these days. There were some life and death teams back in the day for Guild War, which was one of the main reasons why it even got nerfed in the first place. But these days it's just not as viable. It's too slow paced a lot of times. It's really still good for defend teams, but there's no instance currently within Gems of War where you're having to set a defend team. This could change, of course, once Guild War comes back, but as it currently stands, there's no way to do so. So a lot less useful of a hero class, but this team still stands. Oh, no, it doesn't because of Elf. No, never mind. Wait, why did I even put that in the first place? You know what? I think I was looking just purely based on Link. Hold up, hold up. We'll fix it all. We'll fix it all. All right, we'll go you. You do the same thing, right? Well, this is actually the green route. Okay, am I going to have to go down the green route then? Well, never mind. This is already set up for green, so perfect. Okay. The only problem with this is we're feeding into a weapon that isn't that. So you know what? We'll go bring out War and Peace. How about that? We'll bring out the War and Peace weapon. You can also bring Dustbringer. You know what? Let's show. We'll do this. Of course, Dustbringer, if you have it, use it. I don't want to put it there just because it's something that a lot of people might not have, but of course, Dustbringer is the great option to put there as well. Now we'll just change up the banner to a double brown green, and I think we have fixed every problem that was with this team. We should be correct now. There we go. War and Peace or Dustbringer into double Dark Maiden purely for its green link, which is an elf. And then this thing for its Empower, which is also an elf, which is yellow to green off of Empower for a bunch of green, and everything, most notably War and Peace until you win. And since we're not using Archmagus anymore, you know, how about some Archer class? Here we go. Get that green Storm in there for some extra value. But here we go. All right, that's the Orbweaver class event for this Thursday. Nice and fixed. Next, we have Underspire. So, as far as Underspire is concerned, it is also a Zhul'Kari restriction. However, you do not have to use the Dusk Owlbeard like we did for the other mode, which opens up a bit more diversity as far as your team. And by that, I mean spamming Overacting Weaver until you win. We're doing this once again with the green on turn 1. We're using the Watcher's Blade to get our mana accumulation. In this case, I'm not using it in first slot. Or, I mean, I am using it in first slot, so you won't be able to get the summon. However, you could also just change order and have it like this. Honestly, this is probably better anyways. Let's do it like this. Have this in first slot just to sacrifice it because you only really cast it once, maybe twice at most. Then you have the resummon off of this, and of course the other big thing, and the main reason why you might want to just ditch your hero is the main summon you really want is the web spinners, and with 275% chance, it is nearly guaranteed when you get a kill. Obviously not exactly guaranteed, but some kind of really high percent, 80 something, low 90 something percent chance that per kill you'll end up getting a web spinner in first slot with double 75% chance. So pretty high. As far as the lower rarity team, we're actually running in the same order that we just showed, the Malcandessa into Blade. Not sure why I didn't set it up like the other one in the first place, but for this, we're basically running it pretty comparable to the faction team, just with these two things instead of the two faction troops, because the main premise of this is we're just spamming the two insta-kill options until we win. In this case, you will, in most battles, be able to go get a 4 times Cursed Web onto the opposing team, which means if you get the full boost ratio, that will be 4 things that are both hit with it, 8% each for a 32% total. Combined with this is a 42% total, nearly at a 50% chance that you'll insta-kill per cast. So you just keep spamming this out until you win. Try getting your insta-kills and just rinse and repeat. It will be a little bit luck-based, unfortunately. However, you will eventually whittle them down and they'll all be dead. And then, of course, this Friday we'll be getting the Halloween event. We'll be going over that a little bit more once the Halloween event is actually physically in the game, since we can't actually click on it and see everything in regard to it at this current moment in time. Anyways, guys, that's the full rundown. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. All the teams mentioned in this video will be in the description, as well as pinned comment if you want to go and copy-paste any of them. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for watching.